So today my topic is about from strategy to success, which turns out to be a very short and simple sentence, but in most organizations it's a very tough thing to do. Apparently what we come up with as the ways to be successful is very hard to execute and to be successful in the market. And over the last few years it did not become easier to do that because a lot of things changed. Least important slide, a little bit about me. I like to run in every city I go, because if not, I only see an airplane, a taxi, a hotel, and the other way around. So my intention is to run in Madrid tomorrow morning, which is a challenge already, being from the Netherlands, used to temperatures below 10 degrees. Here it's gonna be a melting run for me, but it's nice, right? So what I said, it's not getting easier to achieve your strategy because disruptions these days are a certainty. A decade ago, we had a few, but then we had major ones like COVID, which impacted many of us, and I know in Spain it was a massive impact. Then we had the Ukraine-Russia conflict, which is still impacting us. We're getting almost, unfortunately, used to that one, so the energy impact is now a little less. So we have a lot of disruptions that are impacting society and that are impacting the behavior of our customers. The bad news is, based on the predictions, we will have many more, and they will come more frequently. But one important disruptor is technology itself. I mean, if you look at how the technology evolution has changed the way we act, we interact with organizations, we interact with businesses, it's been a massive disruptor. I mean, we all know the story about Uber impacting the taxi market and the way we do rides, but there are many more of them. These days, we see that companies are switching to drones to deliver packages. The 3D printing will, when that really kicks off, it may change the whole logistics sector because they can manufacture components and parts at the location. They don't need to transport anymore. So a lot of it is going on. A lot more will come when we use the word AI. Right? I mean, AI is a big opportunity. At the same time, it's a massive threat for a lot of organizations in the world. So this is what companies have to face, and they have to deal with it. And it's not that easy, especially not when you set a strategy and then the whole world changes the next half year. So in 2021, Gartner published their strategic portfolio quadrant, and they defined 4 imperatives to be successful in this new volatile world. And these are the imperatives here. First, we had to become very customer-centric. I hope they were before too, because I was a customer too of many of these organizations, but we had to be very customer-centric because the customer they can choose many things. They can go any direction, so we have to focus on them, keep them with us. And the way to do it is we should more focus on the products we sell, because the product is what delivers the value to the customer. Strangely enough, within the organization, a lot of the execution departments, they didn't focus on the product. They were very busy with work and projects. What is it we have to do? When do we have to finish it? Do we have enough people? Can we pay for it? Does it deliver something the customer values? Secondary. So we have to change that. We need to take technology which enables us to do digital business, which is very much of transforming into cloud-type infrastructures. Make it flexible, make it easy to switch, make it easy to pivot. Don't buy something that locks you in for 10 years and you can't move. Slightly different topic. But the biggest one is organizations have to change their business and their operating model to be able to work in this digital business. And that is a big challenge. We acted, we did a lot. And if you talk about transformation, how we get from traditional models into the digital model, we've not been very successful. The percentages vary, but if you read the analysts, they say like, let's say 35% has been successful. The reason is this. No, next slide, sorry for that. So 4 out of 5 organizations, they implemented Agile. I think these days it's 5 out of 5. How do we react better and faster to the customer? Is by doing ways in an iterative way, which is Agile. How do we make sure we release software faster and we do it with less errors? That's a DevOps chain. Everybody has implemented them. We also see that a lot of organizations switched from project-oriented to a product-oriented way. Not all of them did it equally good. Renaming a title from a project manager to a product manager does not do the job. but that's what some organizations have done there. So we have these 3 layers. We have the top layer, which is the portfolio management layer, where people make decisions. They have a very hard time making the right decision, and we'll go into a little deeper on what it is. You have that second layer, which is the connection between the business people and the people who have to do the work. They have to translate that strategy into kind of assignments to the execution people. And then at the bottom, we have the execution people that have to create what business wants. And they very often have questions like, yeah, what is it what the business wants? We don't know. Let's do something that we think is very good. And it's not to say that they do bad quality, it's not to say that they work slow, it's just that it's not all equally efficient. And that's the 3 big barriers we've seen in this landscape for a long time. The first one at that top layer is lack of visibility. People do not have the information they need to make the right decision. It's very hard if you don't know progress of new features, progress of new epics, to prioritize what to do next. It's a complete lack of visibility. At the middle layer, you see that alignment is still a problem. They don't get informed very well by the business on what is the direction we want, where do we need to go. They also don't get informed very well from the execution layers that tell them how are we doing for capacity? Can we keep up? Can we create everything you want? So they have a very tough job balancing resources. Where do we need to put them? What is the most important thing business wants, and which part of my execution layer has some capacity to do these things? And at the bottom line, it's still the efficiency thing. And it can be very rough level efficiency, like building the wrong thing. I mean, look at any electronic device, look at a remote control. It has 45 functions, it has 60 buttons. We use 3 or 4. I mean, who uses more than 30% of their mobile phone capabilities? Not that many of us. So you can say, oh, it's a clever feature, but if nobody uses it, there's no value in it. But people build it and maintain it and support it. So that's the efficiency level there. The other level of efficiency is how can we get better in building what we are doing? How can we optimize the teams? How can we optimize how they work together? How can we learn from our agile iterations on how to get more out of an iteration? So that's an efficiency problem there. And it's confirmed by the business, right? 56% of business executives say we want to put more focus on delivering customer value. We want to make better decisions to make sure we deliver the value. At the middle layer, only 24% has a dashboard that tells them how well is my execution aligning to my business objectives. And then at the bottom, 49% still says we want to improve that efficiency. We really want to get that going. Now, the biggest blocker here is that industrial operating model. That was imperative 4. We have to change our operating model. This model, what we call the industrial model, has been present for many, many years, and it's very hard to change from. Few characteristics. There's a very clear split between business and execution. And that red line is a barrier, right? They don't talk to each other. Execution's not aware. What do they want? Business is not aware. What are they doing? That's one of them. The second, within the delivery organization, we are very much siloed. We have operations, we have development, we have testing, all groups with their own little set of performance objectives, with their own tools, not communicating really well to the others. They are agile, they deployed agile technology. They set up a DevOps chain in DevOps, but they don't exchange information. So they're very siloed, and they work on outputs. How many people can we get on the new application within a month? How many new features can we build for €100,000? It's output numbers, not related to what the customer wants. What they need to do, they have to change somehow into what we call a digital operating model. And here it's about the customer. Here we should no longer have silos, because we don't work on a silo departmental base. We change to something we call a value stream. And I'll touch a little bit more on that later on. We have to be product oriented, so not project. Project starts and it ends. Project has a team. After the project, the team disconnects and they go and do other things. They're not connected to what they are delivering for the customer. It's just a single activity. The project has a budget. Every time something changes in the project, we need to go into our steering committee, ask for a new budget. They have to get more people. It's a lot of work, slowing down a lot of things. So we have to get away from that, get product, and instead of focusing on the outputs, we should pay attention to the business outcomes. So should we create 10 features for 100,000 euros? Or should we maybe create two that we have identified that the whole market is waiting for? That's our business outcome. That will help us to realize our strategic goals. So this is what they have to change, and it turns out to be very hard. But first, let's focus on how hard it is. Look at the numbers. 61% still in industrial. 36% is trying, right? They're in the middle somewhere. Only 3% kind of says like we switched from traditional to new. So it's very hard. But let's focus on the business outcomes first. If you read the Gartner MQ for strategic portfolio management, they say like, oh, enterprise, they need to have a mechanism in place to make the right decision to deliver those business outcomes. Right? It's a set of capabilities, it's a process, and it's technology that they need to focus on the business outcomes. Guess what? Strategic portfolio management is that capability to do so. Because if you implement strategic portfolio management, what research states, you're better in reacting and adapting to major disruptions. Remember, we're going to see many, many more. I think in the coming time, primarily the ones that have to do with AI will impact a lot of businesses. It will allow you to speed up the delivery of new initiatives. Speed is very important in today's market. Right? You have to at least keep up with the competition in everything you do digitally and electronically, because people will switch to another brand easily. And it's not just for software, it's for cars that are software operated. I mean, I remember that Polestar, the Volvo brand, they advertise it like, oh, we have Google Assistant in the car. That seemed to be the most important feature the car had. We have Google Assistant. People bought that car because of Google Assistant. A bank put something in the app, and the younger generation, they switch because they have something new in the app. It's not about the trust in the bank, it's about the little feature in the app. So they have to deliver faster, and if they do that, they can get bigger value of their digital initiatives because they offer something that nobody else has. So at least for a little while, because we're very dynamic, they have more customers there. So strategic portfolio management is really an essential thing to become proactive by tracking market behavior and acting, or what they call nimbly reactive. Now, nimble is kind of a substitute word for agile. Like easy. Oh, we have to change? Oh, that's easy. We don't need to turn upside down the whole enterprise or the organization. We are very easy in moving and going in a different path. Gartner dares to say that in 2025, if you do not deploy strategic portfolio management, 70% of all the initiatives you start to create a digital delivery will fail. That's a pretty harsh statement, but I would say if they lower it to 15%, it's still something to pay attention to. Right? So it's an important thing there. So let's look at strategic portfolio management, because it's a term that's been out there for a long time. Many organizations, if we ask them, do you do portfolio management? They say, yeah, we do. So what do you do? Oh, we have a list of projects, we have a budget, and we check if it fits the budget. If it doesn't fit the budget, we have to swap one or take one out. And that's about as good as it gets when you talk about PPM, portfolio management. Those are usually on that left side in the industrial model, right? Gartner identifies a few use cases for strategic portfolio management. I think this one matches the term best. It's used at the top level. It's used where the organization captures and describes the strategy. What is it we want to do? They define objectives. What do we need to realize to achieve that strategy? And the key results, and how do we measure that? This type of strategic portfolio deployment is often used in a body or a part of the company they these days call a strategy realization office. It's evolved from PMO to enterprise PMO to strategy realization office. Now don't forget, these are just labels and names. I mean, organizations have their own labels and names for departments or bodies doing this, but this is at a very high level. What's important for them, that the outcomes here, they must be measurable in a business context. These people talk about a business strategy. they can't really do a lot with operational KPIs, like how good is the performance, how fast do we respond to a problem, how many things can we deliver in an iteration. For them, it doesn't translate to what does the business want. So it must be measurable, and the value is in the eye of the customer, right? That's the one who gets the product. They interpret the value. So technology KPIs, they need to change them into business value metrics. Not very easy. We are currently working with a lot of organizations to find out what is a business metric for you. How do you measure customer value? But there are some known values, but usually they are lagging values. They measure them after the fact. It's not what we need in the modern world. We want them during the fact, so we can pivot fast. And the definition of value has changed in our digital economy. I mean, customer focus, it's actually what we all have to do. Customer centricity. If we measure value for customers, we talk about service, performance, and quality. Right? These people, they want to have a very stable product, very good quality, that is serviced very well by the organization. Something pretty new in the economy is that the perception of your company is very important. And then we think mostly about sustainability, governance and social responsibility things. A lot of today's consumers, they make a decision based on how does this company position itself in the world? How do they guarantee, I hope you had a cover on it. How do they guarantee that the world's a happy place to live in 20 years? Example is the energy companies I see in Europe, at least in Holland I see a lot. They don't advertise with a price anymore. They don't say we are the best and the cheapest. No, they say we take care of the planet. And we're going to do this, we're going to be totally green. And that's why consumers choose that energy provider, not because they're 10 euros cheaper a month. So it's about perception too. So imagine technology KPIs, things you're doing have to be translated into that type of perception. Now, whenever we speak to a company, large organizations, they all agree. They say, yeah, we have to market, we have to translate our performance into these statistics. When we talk to the guys at the top, they say, yeah, it's all very nice. But as a company, I have my 3 traditional strategic outcomes. We need to create revenue, we need to lower our cost, and we need to remediate the risk. So it's not just about measuring these things and turning them into customer value. There's always still the need to turn things into financial figures. This turned out to be horribly complex when the whole world switched to working Agile. Because these people thought like, we don't have anything to do with money anymore. I don't need to tell them what I'm doing. I don't need to tell how many hours I spend. It's all kind of clear. And everybody who produced software suddenly couldn't capitalize their product anymore, which was very tough for the guys on the left. So whatever solution you have, you still have to match both. These are things that the Strategy Realization Office, what they are concerned about. The second one is the Enterprise Program Portfolio Management Office. This is where they have that big list of investments. What is it we want to do? How many candidates do we have to execute on? And it's their task to make sure that these investments align to the strategy. So they need to have the scoring attributes there, like what is the project or what is the initiative that aligns best to our objective and to our strategy goal. They have the portfolio governance things, right? They still need to take care of how many resources do we have and where we're going to deploy them. They know about budgets, but they know where the money is and how they should deploy it. They should get feedback like, okay, how much did we already spend on it? And what's our progress there? So that's more like the strategic portfolio decisions. Very important in this one is that the technology, and this is like an example of technology being future-proof for working in future, let's say, business, is that it's element neutral. One of the biggest problems when aligning business to execution was the language they spoke. Business talks about the products. They talk about what we sell to our customer base. Execution talks about projects, about all kind of language that the business doesn't understand. So one of the first things you have to kind of realize is that the whole organization has the same taxonomy. Now, it comes a little bit from both. In agile worlds, business nowadays is pretty much used to terminology like initiative, capability, feature, and a product, obviously. So they get that language. They see that in the dashboards and they understand what an epic is. You can use that. At the bottom end, since we talk about product, they are much more aligned to them too. So they are not working in a project structure anymore or doing that. No, they work for a product. So they know what part of the business they are supporting. When it comes to technology, and you want to look at your organization from a portfolio perspective, you need to have the capability to use this type of terminology. A product is not the same for every company. It can be an app, it can be a service, it can be a platform. There are many, many variations of a product. I had a workshop for half a day to define what a product was in an electronics company. In the end, the conclusion was a product is something we can sell. That was the conclusion. But they differ all over the way. If you want to align the organization there, make sure you use the same terminology or you configure the operational model of your company in your tool. So people talk the same language. Same when it comes to roadmaps. A roadmap should be able to contain these new elements. It should be able to contain a product, a feature, and maybe an epic, but it should also be able to contain a platform or a service and the underlying hierarchy of that. So very important when it comes to the enterprise program portfolio management layer. And the probably most known one for all of us who work in IT or are related to the IT department is the integrated IT portfolio analysis. This is very much about IT initiatives. Now, a lot of things these days in a company are IT initiatives because the border between IT and business is fading. But this is how does our IT strategy support business? This is connections to enterprise architect, to future state kind of schematics, etc. They analyze what does the IT initiative do, and they change and they go through that type of approval process. Looking at the way the world changed, important part of that technology is application portfolio management. Because these days, we quickly grow new applications because things change all the time. So we need new applications, we need modified applications. It changes quickly. Our application landscape grows fast, which means more cost, more maintenance, all of that. If you look at the merger and acquisition we're doing in today's economy, every time you merge or you acquire a company, pretty much your application landscape doubles. It's too much to maintain. It's too much to stay agile, to be able to react fast. There's too much to take into concern. So we really need to take a look at the application landscape at this level. And they need to take into considerations technology parameters, right? How complex is this application? How many other business applications are integrated? What are the dependencies on this? Also, they have to look at the business. How strategic is it? How many customers or users do we have on this application? So there's a lot to it, but especially when you're moving to new technologies like the new cloud structures or infrastructures, this is a very important piece of the IT portfolio management layers. So these are all use cases of strategic portfolio management as identified by Gartner that you need to pay attention to in your organization in order to be flexible. So we get this, right? We're living in a very volatile world. The VUCA is a term that we used a few years ago to describe it, which is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. If you look at strategic portfolio management, it can address quite a lot of them, right? It gives you understanding, it talks from the vision, so it helps you in dealing with the changing circumstances in this world. Any questions on strategic portfolio management so far? I think it's pretty clear. We all talk about it very regularly, but we also sense that if we ask, what is it you do? People are getting a little bit confused, like, list of projects. Not very connected to strategy. It's crucial to connect it to strategy. Even though you have the different layers, there should always be the link to strategy and the objectives there. How are we doing on time? Okay. So SPM is clear. So what about value streams and value stream management? Just very quick, value stream concept is not new. It started in the Toyota organization. The Toyota production system started about I think in the 40s or the 50s. They didn't really name it value streams, but it was just something to optimize their production process, get the waste out of the process, right? Later, somebody came up with the term value streams. And there's a book from 1990 already, and they call it The Machine That Changed the World. That term is still applicable, right? If you talk about value streams. It's all about value for the customer. Everything we do in the value stream concept is deliver that value to the customer. So it's very much focusing on the customer and how do we deliver value? Using a product. So the value stream is kind of fitting to the problematics, to the imperatives that Gartner has defined. Now there are different types of value streams and different definitions. I've used the definition that SAFE has in their lectures, Scaled Agile Framework. They say we have an operational value stream, we have a development value stream. So the operational value stream is literally what your company does in talking to your customer. The customer hits your website, hits a button, I want more information. Everything happens, the wheels gets turning, and then in the end, hopefully he buys the product, and afterward we support that customer very well and he stays with us. If you look at the development stream, it's everything in the company that has needed to realize and to make that process, that operational value stream work. So it's when that customer clicks on that button, I want more information. It's the whole software underlying that automates the process of getting it to the customer as soon as possible, or building the application as soon as possible. Within our world, we are very much focusing on the development value streams. Although we can reach out to parts of the operational value stream, but there we interact with other tools. But from our perspective, from value stream management, we are very often talking about that development lifecycle. When you compare it to the past, things have changed a little bit, right? The focus now in the development value stream, there's a lot of focus on design and develop, and then there's a little bit more on production and delivery, which is our DevOps. In the old days, it was very much the other way around. Like Toyota, they designed and built something, but it was very much their waste they got out of the production process. Production process now is very much on that software side. So as I mentioned already, it very much applies to the imperatives. A value stream is all about the customer. The product is what delivers value to the customer. And if you think about the concept of the value stream, it's that, shortly explained, everybody in the organization that has to do with delivering value to a customer works in the same value stream. A value stream is often equivalent to a product or a product group. If we talk to financial institutes, their value stream could be mortgages. So everything that happens in mortgages is their value stream. All the teams, development, DevOps, design, anything that has to do with that is in that same value stream. So they're no longer working in their development cycle, their DevOps cycle, their testing cycle. No, they're parts of multifunctional teams that all work in that value stream, delivering value for mortgages. So it takes out the silos, because they all have the same objectives, the same goals, and they talk in that language, and they don't talk within their silo anymore. So the value stream is very nice if you want to address these imperatives. So that's why we see a lot of interest. And it's not always named a value stream, by the way. Organizations have a hard time sticking to standard terminology. Sometimes they use a totally different term, but the concept is the same. So it's really enabling you to turn agile practices into business agility. That's what the purpose of this value stream is. We have everybody aligned, everybody working towards the same goals, without all the handovers and trouble we have in the middle. Now, Gartner also says, this is an important concept, by 2026 we estimate that 80% of organizations will have something in place to manage those value streams. Because like anything else we do in IT, it needs to be managed. Now, if you go onto the web and you look up value stream management, very often you find solutions that are focusing on these two areas, which is Agile Flow and DevOps, which talks about flow metrics, which is how can we improve our Agile teams, how can we improve their productivity, do more and do better in shorter iterations. The DevOps is about the rolling all that stuff that they built out, with as least problems in that process as possible. Get it to the market quickly and smooth it and support it. It's very much the SDLC there. Now, recently, because of the importance of strategic portfolio management, because the importance of defining value in line to your strategy, we see that this layer, and this is particularly what we at Broadcom have included in this term of value stream management, is added on top of that. Because everything we optimize in these layers to make it more smooth somehow has to contribute to the business outcome and the value we deliver to our customer. So within our definition of value stream management, it's those bottom two layers, but it's definitely also the strategic portfolio management layer, because that should drive what we are doing and how we optimize. Now, how do we address these barriers with VSM? If you remember the schematic there, we had three big barriers, right? We had lack of visibility, we had poor alignment in the organization, and we had low efficiency in execution. All of them have durable problems underlying the barrier. So if you go and analyze these organizations, like what is causing your lack of visibility? Well, they have no timely access to quality data. There's plenty of data everywhere in the organization, in hundreds of tools. They can aggregate it. Take a Friday afternoon, use 5 people and compose a report out of it. Takes a lot of time, lots of effort, and usually it's too late to anticipate quickly. So they have no effort. Because they work in silos, they don't usually trust what the other silo is telling them. Sounds really childish and silly, but it's a reality in the world. People don't trust each other's data because it's from different systems. They can be manipulated, these systems. So no means to measure performance and impact quickly. Right? They have no way of doing it timely. So it's a lack of visibility there. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because of the time, but poor alignment or poor organizational alignment, that's that famous disconnect between business and delivery. Delivery doesn't know what business wants. Business doesn't know what delivery is doing or what the status is. So they are very, very poorly aligned and they work in silos. Efficiency, very hard to manage the capacity we have in the organization. At the top level, it's a rough estimate, right? We have so many teams. This is what we need to create, so we think we can do it. When we go into the execution, it's more about the work that the teams have to do. It's the other opposite of, it's like bringing work to the teams. And they have different capacity challenges. Like how much can we do with the team of what the business wants in one iteration? It's poor, it's cumbersome. It gets worse if you have a number of teams and you have things like Agile release trains in place. How are you going to manage all that? So how do we do it? VSM, how do we address that visibility blocker, the barrier there? Well, VSM components are present within our solution, are present in all these layers. And they can connect the layers and they can aggregate and propagate data through the layers. So suddenly you do have the data available from all the layers and it's in an automated fashion. So you don't need 6 people on a Friday to collect everything and put it into a new spreadsheet. No, it's within the system. It's aggregated, propagated, and it's readily available almost near real time because we get it from the system. So it's the latest that's in there. It's not a product of 3-day spreadsheet work. We remove those silos because we focus on the value stream. So we take that value stream as an entity, we define that entity in the solution, and everything we do, everything we collect on that is in relation to that value stream. So it gives the visibility for delivering that specific product to a certain market segment. And from the SDLC operation, so that software development lifecycle, we get all the metrics, flow metrics, DORA metrics, everything in that cycle, which helps the teams to become more efficient in their work. We also propagate the strategy and objectives to them so they can become more flexible in addressing it. They have more visibility into what the business works. So they have visibility from the strategy. Houston, we have a problem. Okay. So this goes here. For every kind of how do we address this barrier? We have a use case here. I just got a signal that I'm running quickly out of time, so I can't go into all the use cases. What's good to know is that all of these use cases are published on our website with the complete description, so you can get them all from the website. This is a financial one that addressed that visibility challenge by deploying value stream management based on our solution set. Second one, create alignment. Well, as I told you before, it's important that business and execution talk the same language. So we allow you to configure that language in the system. Use the same products, use the same concepts that the entire organization can use and put them in your product. So we look at the same terminology and the same artifacts in our system. We can propagate objective and results all the way down to the execution layers. They are defined in that strategy realization office. Usually that's where they stay, because nobody communicates them to the other layers. VSM has a way of propagating that type of objectives and key results all the way down to the teams that are working on their backlogs. So they can see, how does this backlog item relate to which objective? So they are aligned. They can see what they have to work on and what's most important for the business. And again, we organize around value streams. The green blocks, by the way, those are the underlying problems that are addressed by doing this. Hershey, chocolate company. But they were impacted badly by COVID, because it hit them when it was Halloween time. So that's when they realized they couldn't really pivot. They couldn't do anything different than just do what they do. So they realized that they changed their complete vision, they implemented VSM, and they aligned their organization in a completely different way. The result now is that they can act really fast to things happening in the market. They can also act really fast to meet their, let's say, corporate objectives and key results. The efficiency, this is primarily acting at that execution level, but also at the top. I mean, by being able to prioritize investments, you increase efficiency at that level, right? We do the things that helps us most, instead of putting a lot of money and people into something that didn't really add, or that was too late to market anyway. It improves quality and enables continuous improvement at the team level, because we collect those flow metrics, we analyze them, and we can have the teams do retrospectives on how well did we do and what do we need to improve. It's a different component of the solution, but it helps the efficiency at that level. The use case for that one was Verizon. Telco in the US looked at this. One of their important gains was not so much like, oh, okay, so we could do more features in one sprint. No, they said, very important for the intrinsic motivation, we gave people time back and make them do work that is important for the company instead of doing something that didn't contribute at all, which is usually not very good for motivation. Right? So it's a different benefit, but value stream management comes with a lot of secondary benefits like that too. So if you combine them both, strategic portfolio and value stream management, it gives you a lot of benefits, because it aligns your organization. You can make your decision based on real data, the strategic portfolio part, and you can really do that all in line with value and delivering that value to your customer. It breaks the barriers which blocks organizations from going from an industrial model to a digital model. If you want to know more about this, if you search Value Stream Management Summit, it will take you to a website, which is the kind of recap of an event we did like a month ago, where we have interviews with customers that have used our technology. How did they do it and what did it get them? There's a lot of collateral, a lot of downloadable material too. This is the home screen there, so if you see this one, you're at the right page. But if you want to know more from customers, please go there and find that out. Uniqueness, I don't need to read it all out, but as I said, value stream management, other solutions very much focus often on that flow metrics and DORA metrics. That does not translate into value or business metrics and is very hard for strategic portfolio people to act on. We include that strategic portfolio management layer in our solution. Besides the customer value, it's about enterprise value too, right? They want to know about revenue, cost, and risk. So we include a very, very strong financial backbone to do all that. It's probably one of the strongest parts of our solution is that financial backbone you have underneath all your execution and planning. It's methodology agnostic. We do Agile. We also do still waterfall in many companies. It doesn't really matter how you do it. We can include all of that. It offers unmatched flexibility there. If your organization has an operational model with your product structure and your partner structure and your go-to-market structure, we can model it in our solution. So we can make sure that your organization talks the same language on the right model. Scaling Agile is about that efficiency from Agile teams at the next level. It's in there as well. And you're not without any solution. So there is an ecosystem in place, especially in that Agile and DevOps area. We have technology to connect and automate the patterns there out of the box. So these are unique components of our solution. Now I hope I got some of your trust, but if that didn't work, the analyst agrees with me, right? So Gartner, Forrester, and GigaOM, I mean, in the strategic portfolio management quadrants and in the value stream management quadrants, we've been recognized as a leader. Not in a 5-year-old portfolio of our report, but Forrester has just been released a month ago for strategic portfolio management. Gartner is about almost a year ago, so I think their next one will come out soon. And the GigaOM is also very recent for value stream management. So it's proven technology, guys. It's not something that we like to sell you, and that's not really living up to the expectations.